Welcome back to Gordon's Views and Reviews, where we look at everything from world politics to how my grass is doing. This week, my grass is doing reasonably well, but the state of world politics I'm beginning to wonder about. Like most of you, I've been following the George Floyd murder and the subsequent protests and whatnot in the United States. And I'm assuming, like many of you, I'm a little outraged at the way Donald Trump has been handling things. This past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk about police brutality and Black Lives Matter in the wake of the George Floyd murder by 4 Minneapolis police officers. We're all aware that this is not the first instance of police brutality and insensitivity to individual rights in not just the United States, but that's what we're talking about today. It has been a problem for years, and it clearly remains a problem. There remains a racist core that runs through law enforcement in the United States. Yet it also clearly runs through the current American administration. In reaction to the George Floyd murder, there have been protests and demonstrations around the world. In the United States, the demand has been for the application of something that is clearly spelled out in their Constitution. It's fundamental to their Constitution and everything we've ever known or heard about the United States. Liberty and justice for all. They also claim that all men are created equal. The way people of color have been treated in the United States for years makes a mockery of those principles. In reaction to the mostly peaceful demonstrations and protests, what's been the reaction of the so-called leader of the United States? His initial reaction was to run and hide, get himself secured in the presidential bunker where he'd be safe and sound. He cowered in the presidential bunker. Then he comes out and he contacts the state governors and demands that they dominate the situation, and if they don't, he will. He will call in the National Guard and enforce what he calls law and order. His next step was to call the state governors and demand that they dominate these thugs. And if they didn't, he would. And in the nature of the dictators he so admires, he would squash all those asking for justice. He then went on and forcibly removed and gassed quiet, peaceful protesters so that he could have a photo op in front of a church. He gassed children, priests, police beat reporters filming the scene, and all this so he could stand in front of a church with a Bible in his hands, suggesting that he's somehow... we won't go there. Then he went on air and announced that he was going to enforce quiet in the streets by bringing in the National Guard and probably the Army, tanks in the streets of Washington, if things didn't quieten. But he assured people while he was withdrawing and trampling on their First Amendment right of free speech and right of assembly that their constitutional right to bear arms would be protected. I have a clip here of Trump making a speech. I'll let him say what he wants, and then we'll interpret what he's saying.
America is founded upon the rule of law. It is the foundation of our prosperity, our freedom, and our very way of life. But where there is no law, there is no opportunity. Where there is no justice, there is no liberty. Where there is no safety, there is no future. We must never give in to anger or hatred. If malice or violence reigns, then none of us is free. I take these actions today with firm resolve and with a true and passionate love for our country. By far, our greatest days lie ahead.